Good Lord, what is happening with my hair? Wow, so it has been a long time since we've caught up. I think in the last video I had talked about looking for what we're gonna do next, moving around the greenhouse, naming our compound, things like that. And I had been behind the scenes toying with the idea of going 100% mortgage free. And what do you know? That's exactly what we did. 2 years ago, right after I posted that last video, we accepted the reality that if we kept working so hard to pay for an overpriced house in an undervalued area, we would be poor and almost homeless when all of that, busted. There's a lot behind the scenes, and if you ask specific questions, I'll give specific answers. But the basic idea was we came to Oklahoma and moved in a hurry to help take care of my father-in-law. Sorry, I'm going to sit down. And when we got here, we literally planted a house right in his front yard. He gave us half an acre of land. We stuck a house on it. And for the next 8 years, we just kind of raised kids and hung out with Dad and got done what we needed to get done in order to make life work. But when we did everything in a hurry, we came out here with big city budgets in mind, and we bought a house for what we thought would be a great deal because we had Phoenix pricing in our heads. Turns out that house was super overpriced, and it was a very fancy double wide. We bought it from a manufacturer. It was brand new. We had it set. We got all the bells and whistles and everything. And as soon as it was set, and I got to know the area better and started looking at other real estate and other houses of similar size in this area, we realized, number one, we were never going to make any equity off that house. The minute it got set, it became worth less. Number two, we, over the first couple of years, noticed that there's a propane station directly across from where we set our house, and we noticed our homeowner's insurance, which was tied to the mortgage, kept creeping up. I mean, we came in at payments of, I think it was like $640 when we moved here in 2009. And by the time we made the active decision to let the house go, those payments had skyrocketed to over $1,200 a month. The mortgage itself was fixed interest, did not change, but because our homeowner's insurance was tied to an escrow through the mortgage company, and because it was a manufactured mobile home, which limited the kind of financing of options available, we were locked in. We couldn't get other companies to insure the home because of the propane station, and we couldn't negotiate a better rate with the homeowner's insurance that we had. And since everything was tied together, kit and caboodle, it was either let it all go or fight for it all and pay twice as much. And again, remind you, we are losing equity the longer we are here because the propane station kept getting bigger and our home wasn't getting any more valuable. Mobile homes just do not resell. So there we have it. We're in over our heads. We're, trying to bail out a sinking ship. And finally, we just threw the buckets and said, screw it, put it all up for auction. We auctioned the house to one person bought the house. They moved it. Our house went from Northeast Oklahoma to Neosho, Missouri. Then our cousins across the driveway ended up buying the lot that it was on. Now, in the meantime, once we made the decision to let it all go, everything got so much easier. A few years into living here, we had also bought an adjacent little over half acres, like 3/4 of an acre, from the neighbors behind us who were looking to relocate. And we cleared that land, and we had a few portable buildings on that land. So we just had this giant backyard that was a separate land deed that was owned outright, bought in cash. And we're like, well, we can buy a new house and we can suffer all these same things, or we can build. So that's what we're doing. We broke ground in June of 2019 on what we are now calling our Barren Hills Summer Camp. We drew up a plan. Insert beautiful plan drawing here. I am not a drafter, I am not a CAD designer, I barely even know stick figures, but we drew up a plan that involved housing for ourselves as the adults or the parents of the family. We call it, cabin 1 or the master cabin. A bunkhouse for the girls and a bunkhouse for the boys. And then to top it all off, we added a detached kitchen. We used one whole building to do nothing but kitchen and laundry. And all of that is going to, make sense as I go through the tour. But the idea was our kids are all grown and nearly flown. Between all of us, we've got a 25-year-old, a 21-year-old, 2 18-year-olds, a 16-year-old, and a 13-year-old. And, they're getting older, they're getting their partners, they're, pairing up and moving out and moving back and all this back and forth. And one day we were joking during this planning process, and one of us, I don't even know which one of us said it, but one was like, "God, it's like we're going to run an Airbnb for our own kids." And that's when we really ironed everything out. We're like, well, we're going to build a bunkhouse for the ladies, a bunkhouse for the gentlemen, and a cabin for the full-time caretakers, which would be the parents. We're going to put the kitchen and laundry facilities in its own building. That way our young adults, as they come and go, can get a midnight snack or do, their laundry on a road trip without waking up the adults. Everybody can live independently, have privacy, but still be with family. And that's what this summer camp is quickly becoming. During the winter, we have all of our big gatherings over at my girlfriend's house, which is a huge, beautiful farmhouse with lots of indoor space and a cozy fireplace and everything else. And then all summer long, since we are near all the rivers and lakes and streams and woods and everything else, we are setting this up as a fun, relaxing family retreat and hideaway from the world. All that said, here we go. Let's take a quick tour of where we're at now with Barren Hills Summer Camp. First off is a look at the past. Right behind me here, you can actually see the footing of where our old house was. It was a surreal feeling to watch it drive away. It was like all that pressure that we had put on ourselves to maintain it and sell everything we own in order to save it and make those outlandish payments and, try to get out from under this ever-growing debt. It was like somebody pulled all that weight off our shoulders. As soon as we saw that building being driven away, it was like somebody had given us permission to really make the most fun out of this thing that we're building. Now, granted, like I said, we did all of this. We broke ground on the new project in June of 2019. You guys all know what happened by spring of 2020. From June through spring of 2020, March 17th, 2020 to be exact, we were doing great. Our concert income, we make our money off of marketing live events in country music. So that income was doing fantastic. We weren't having to pay a mortgage because we already owned this property in the first 2 buildings that we had started with. And so all of our money went into construction. We were buying, building materials. We were putting money down on the bunkhouses that we were getting for the kids. Everything was just coming up roses. We got the greenhouse moved over, got the garden set up, re-fenced everything. We got to work on the master cabin. We started getting all the supplies for the big kitchen. At the same time, the kids spend all summer long with their other family members visiting grandparents and things like that. So we had, all the time and the freedom in the world to do these things. Come fall, school starts. We get into the school cycle, we had everything kind of, this is a constant construction zone, so we had everything kind of temporarily fixed in a way where we could all stay on the property and not have to rent anything anywhere else to live. And we had the kids kind of bunking together. It was really like summer camp, cots and twin-size beds everywhere. But it worked, and we've had a lot of fun with it. And then COVID struck, and obviously March 17th, 2020 was the very last concert ticket that we sold, and it is just now, as of June 2021, coming back. So our income stopped overnight, and given the weird way that our income is set up, we didn't qualify for any of those cool benefits everybody else got. some of us got STEMI checks, some of us didn't. Some of us got STEMI checks on behalf of our kids, and some of us didn't. And the why and how of all of it was just a mess. I can't even begin to describe how financially strapped we were. But we made it work. We had luckily bought so many building materials in the beginning that we were able to just trickle by, and as long as we didn't have to go spend any money on parts, we were able to keep constructing. First off, the easiest place to start was the master cabin. We already owned this building. It was paid off in, I want to say 2011. And for many, many years, it was actually a recording studio. Ump's in a band. Well, he was. He is a musician, though, full-time. And his band would use this space to practice and rehearse and record and everything else. And so, luckily for us, when we had first had this portable building put in, and it's a TDS, it is a 16 by, I believe, 32. All we did was put in really, 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 really great soundproofing insulation in the walls and ceiling. And we had thrown some drywall up, and, we made it an adequate space for a band rehearsal. But now, we'll take you inside. And granted, we are so not done with any of the finishing. But, and a lot of this, we still need flooring, we need trim, we need a lot of things. But now we've got this big entryway, a bathroom that still needs a lot of work, my library. Forgive me, I have not cleaned in days. You can either build or you can clean, you pick. But we've got this beautiful living room. But we are reusing as much as we can from the original building, and of course anything we have laying around in the shop. Living room, there's a bedroom back there. It's a mess, I'm not showing that. And this is the general idea of the plan. Master cabin, 2 bunkhouses, detached kitchen. It'll all be connected by a giant deck. Notice how that deck kinda could serve as a stage? Fancy that. We'll come back to that. Anyhow, that's the master cabin in all of its messy gloriness. Here's the thing about buying a lot of construction materials back in 2019 when we had the good income. We stockpiled so much lumber because we're going to have to frame out walls and decks and everything else. When we put our old house up for auction, we actually tore down the giant gathering deck that was on the front of the house and just stockpiled that wood. We're like, no, we'll have to shim something up. Maybe we can, we're thrifty people. We were going to reuse that wood. So, little did I know, as quarantine was going on and everything was getting rough, all I was worried about were these rainy seasons that made it really, sorry, my angles are bad, made it really inconvenient to walk from one building to another because we were constantly walking through mud. And so I took so much of that decking that was in such great shape and I chopped it into 2-foot sections and made walkways, just a temporary solution till we can build a big deck, made walkways to go from one building to another so I could keep my feet out of the mud. Yeah, the next time I went to buy lumber was in March of 2021 when I realized that I had literally just mutilated gold. I have a, mud-free walkway paved in gold. Don't mind that bathtub, there's a reason for it. There's a reason for all of it. Anyway, now we are at the next building. We're going kind of bookends here. This building we also already owned. We actually purchased it in 2009. It used to sit right there by the highway and served many purposes over the years. At first we had bought it to be a home office, and then it was a gym and a craft room and a band practice space before they got the big building. It's a 12 by 24 from TDS. Again, a lot of remnants from a lot of places. I swear it looks like we're just a bunch of hillbillies in here. And again, I can either build or clean, and lately we've been building. So, nothing is strapped in or tied down yet. This is kind of the room of requirement, but we got tons of cabinets. We put in some open shelves. These are all temporary solutions. The permanent construction of this kitchen and laundry will happen after the kids' cabins are complete. I actually have a big problem with working on the spaces that make me the happiest before the spaces the kids need are complete. And I know I keep saying kids, they are nearly grown. Good Lord, what is happening with my hair? Well, it's a good thing I'm not a fashion blogger. I'm pretty sure the comments are going to be full of how Einstein my hair looked. But generally, I don't like the idea of focusing on the places that make me the happiest. I like doing the pretty finishes and the, you know, more creature comforts until everything that my children need, even my grown children need, is complete. I'll come back and make my kitchen beautiful later when I have time. Right now, it's functional. It does the jobs I need it to do. I can cook healthy meals. The kids can come in and use it as needed. Laundry's available. All the utilities work. The wiring is in place. Like, everything is safe and secure, if not a little chaotic and cluttered. I can work with that while we're getting everything ready for the rest of the family. So, please don't judge the mess. Again, I guess I should stop pointing out the mess, but it really makes me self-conscious. All right, up next is the shop. That's where the magic happens. It's also chaos, but we're working on it. The greenhouse, garden, fire pit, everything else, that's good. Now, we're not doing tours inside of these because they're just a mess, but let me give you the basics. On the right is the gentleman's cabin. All the sleeping areas are upstairs. There's 12 foot by 10 foot loft. Oh, these are 12 foot by 40 foot long Dirksen deluxe lofted sheds. I absolutely love them. We were very lucky to order both of them at the same time before quarantine, which means that they were delivered very quickly. They were made very, very well. And we got 2019 pricing on them. If you were to go get these same cabins today, the price on it would literally double. Thank you, lumber shortages. So there's a lot of great decisions that were made basically by accident, and it's working out very well. But on the right is the gentleman's cabin. It is being built with a focus of multimedia, you know, because my kids like to game, my grown boys like to game. We are going to do a full, we are going to do a big pull down projector in there. We're going to have, you know, pre-wired surround sound. It's basically a place to veg out and have all your great, you know, your favorite entertainment pastimes set up. It's a place to crash and game and listen to music and have a big, like, large living room area. In the ladies' cabin, we're doing a downstairs bedroom as well as 2 lofts upstairs. One 12 by 10 for sleeping, one that's more of an 8 by 10 with built-in bookshelves. Their theme, and I'll go in here because it's still just a construction zone, but their theme is going to be spa and luxury. It's all about relaxation. Tons of cozy nooks, hanging hammock chairs, and, you know, it's just going to be the most relaxing thing in the world. That's what the cast iron tub in the front yard was all about. We picked that up for $40, which is a steal, and we're building the whole bathroom around it. All we've got done in here so far is we have raised the roof in what will be the bedroom area. We're getting ready to put a big window in that will look over the back portion of the property where we'll have a flower garden, and it kind of looks out into the woods. We migrated this loft because originally the loft was in the back of the building. We detached it from over here and moved it more central to the room, and we are doing wiring galore, plugs and lights and switches for everybody. That's generally where we're at with construction. All right, so we're gonna hold the camera still for a minute while I finish up. Anyway, generally, I just wanted to give you guys an update of what we're doing, where we've been, why I've been quiet. Yes, I am still writing for country music sites. I still write for Country Music News Blog and Country Music on Tour. it's been really slow during quarantine because we did take advantage of this forced vacation to do construction while we can. And I know it looks like we still have so far to go, and working on this for the last year and a half, almost 2 years, I feel like we should be further along than we really are, but every little project involves learning how to do it. Thank you for YouTube. We are going to YouTube University and graduating with maybe a D+. I don't know. But I'm excited. I'm excited because it's finally starting to look like a real summer camp. I'm excited because we're finally starting to have guests. I know it seems silly, but the cabin that I just walked you through with all of the construction, last week I had it gutted. I had rugs on the ground. I had air mattresses. I had twinkly lights. I had it set up as the fanciest hard shell tent you could ever imagine. And we had, you know, my grown kids here, my grown daughter and her fiance here for a week to just daydream with us and tell me, you know, what would you change in here and what would you like this to have? And when you go on vacation, or if you're hiding from the city, because they both live in, you know, Phoenix, Arizona right now, which is a big difference. When you're hiding from the world, what do you want to find? And they helped come up with a lot of great ideas for that. We're starting to finally see the property be used for what we're intending, which is a place to get away from it all and relax and be a kid again. Even if you're grown, be a kid. That's kind of why we started this. We never want our kids to be in the position that we found ourselves in, where financially we were completely strapped, that no matter what good decisions we were making, the circumstances around us made it to where those good decisions didn't matter. You can't fight the progress of somebody else's property and how that affects your insurance and your property value. All you can do is decide what to do about those circumstances. And in our case, we decided to stop fighting and start building a new dream. Now, what we have planned for the future. Yes, this is a summer camp for us, for our kids. But it's also a way to step away from relying on the internet for income. Yeah, I know it's ironic that I'm putting this on the internet for information, but I don't expect it to ever make us any money. As far as internet income, we have always relied on affiliate income and commissions and sponsorships and things like that for the country music sites, and hopefully that still lasts for a while. But we're seeing some big red flag indicators that say that that's not going to be a long-term income opportunity. We have to do something tactile. We have to do something we can touch with our hands that can't disappear with one cyber attack or go away just because there is a worldwide pandemic. You know, that was so out of our control and we had no backup. We can't do that anymore. We're too old to start over. We're too young to not have an income. There's a lot that we found out we weren't ready for. And this property is going to be our way of getting ready for it. We began with self-sustaining gardens, you know, cooking and preserving things that we grew ourselves. I started raising chickens. We started, you know, buying things in cash, no more financing, anything. If we don't have the money for it, it just doesn't happen. And it gets really inconvenient. I'm not going to lie. We are going paycheck to paycheck. But it's so rewarding to do things with our hands that we can touch and feel and see the progress of every day. What we're looking at now is figuring out how we're going to turn this property into its own revenue generator that doesn't require advertisers or affiliate income or things like that. We're also looking at growing a big green living fence here to dumb down some of the highway noise, but we've got some big updates about that too. It looks like we are going to have a lot more property to work with very soon if things work out. There's a small chance they might not, and so I'm not going to spill the beans until it's official. But yeah, that's where we've been. 2 years. And we have some shells of buildings and really fancy hard shell tents happening. It's comfortable, but it is definitely not pretty yet. And I just thought it was about time that I told you guys what we're doing. Yeah. Thanks. Cheers.